Greetings from lovely Cincinnati, Ohio. We are your hosts, Joe Holley, and this is JB Radio, leading the way in the millennial generation's conservative ideas. If you'd like to keep track of us, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/pages/JB-radio. And if that's too long, just go on the search bar and type in JB Radio and you'll find us. We have a lot of things to get to today, a lot of news. So I'll first start off with Joe. Why don't you explain what happened with Hillary Clinton and Benghazi, and that's number one on our list. So take it away.
Today we had the hearings that have been highly anticipated for Hillary Clinton, and if you ever watched these things before, it's a pretty simple process. Like, the senators have 3 to 5 minutes each. They rotate Republican, Democrat, and some interesting stuff came out of that. Let's go ahead and play a sound clip. This is Ron Johnson and Hillary Clinton going at it here.
Madam Secretary, do you disagree with me that a simple phone call to those evacuees to determine what happened would have ascertained immediately that there was no protest? I mean, that was a piece of information that could have been easily obtained.
Well, but Senator,
within hours, if not days.
Senator, when you're in these positions, the last thing you want to do is interfere with any other process going on.
I realize that's a good excuse.
Number two, no, it's the fact. Number two, I would recommend highly you read both what the ARB said about it and the classified ARB, because even today there are questions being raised. Now, we have no doubt they were terrorists, they were militants, they attacked us, they killed our people. But what was going on and why they were doing what they were doing
No. We were misled that there was supposedly protests and then something sprang out of that, an assault sprang out of that. And that was easily ascertained that was not the fact.
But
and the American people could have known that within days, and they didn't know that.
With all due respect, the fact is we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make? It is our job to figure out what happened and do everything we can to prevent it from ever happening again.
All right, that's enough. What difference does it make at this point, Hillary? You're answering questions for that very reason on what you knew about it, so obviously it matters. It matters. So if it doesn't matter at all to you, then why are you even there? Why are you even there? Well, it's because you have to be. Because you lied to the American people that it was some video that spawned all of this protest that lasts for days on end beforehand. That apparently we had all the knowledge that it was just from this YouTube video from an American guy that made this video, and everybody is just so upset about it that they decide to kill a bunch of Americans. 4 Americans. Joe, she knew. Can we just be honest? She knew that it was not a video.
Yeah.
Our president knew that it was not a video.
Yeah, they all knew it, and and it goes beyond it doesn't matter like why they killed, because they could have stopped it. They asked for more security, and then when it happens, what happens is that people died, which people saw coming, but they decided to not send more security. And then so it does matter that if it was a video or if it was a threat that had been there for a while. I mean, that does matter. So
well, she even talked about how this is not a political situation. It's personal, because I put my arms around the mothers and fathers, the sisters and brothers, the sons and daughters of those people who died. Oh, so to them it just doesn't matter, huh, Hillary? Yeah. Why don't you say that to them? Of course it matters. It matters to everyone, every American that heard the news that it was some YouTube video, and then we found out quickly thereafter that no, it was not a YouTube video. It was an act of terror. It was terrorists. And obviously they knew that something was going on around them, that they knew that they were not safe, and they requested, like you said, security. And by any means, it was ignored. It was ignored. So talk about ways to prevent it. How about we actually listen to the people that are there and respond when they say that they need security? I mean, why was our ambassador even in Benghazi? Why was he even there? She got asked that question and she totally ignored it. And these hearings are a joke. I mean, let's be honest. That's what it is. What's going to happen out of it?
Oh, nothing.
Nothing at all. It's a joke.
I mean, we have a new Secretary of State now, and it's just all gonna. This is not gonna hurt Clinton politically ever. I mean, she just gets away with it, and it's a disgrace that she says that she had no knowledge of it. Well, that's her failure.
Yeah.
If it wasn't if she never saw those cables, they never got to her. I mean, it's her leadership.
It's either she's incompetent or all of her subordinates are incompetent. I mean, on something that serious where our ambassador feels endangered, obviously that's a little bit more important than somebody needing a few $1,000s for some light bulbs. That obviously she doesn't see every single thing that's requested, but something like that, Secretary of State should be in knowledge of, and her subordinates should have known that. Somebody knew it, and they should have forwarded on to her. So, it's unfortunate that this situation is going to get brushed under the rug, and it's never going to be dealt with.
Right.
Because it's not. It's not going to be dealt with. And once again, another Clinton gets away with lying to the American people and just is really good at playing it off and ignoring. And these hearings are a joke. Anyways, will we ever get the truth? Well, we got the truth, but it didn't come from Hillary, unfortunately. What else, Joe?
Just with the how I don't know. I talked about how much of a joke these hearings are. It's like if you listen to I'm sure it'd be like this if she was a Republican. The Republicans would have a love fest with her, and then the Democrats turn around and they ask the same exact questions every time, and it doesn't accomplish anything. Nothing gets accomplished in our Congress, no matter what it is. And these hearings just amplify that to me. I mean, it's just a microcosm of a huge problem. So, the Democrats are all like, oh, we thank you for your service and stuff. It's not about your thanking you for your service. You're going out.
Nothing to do with
that. Had nothing to do with the hearing. Like, you want to tell her that, call her up and tell her that. I mean, that's not the place for it.
When can we get to the point where in Washington we get past, okay, you got elected. That's where your party line sits. Yeah, you have an agenda. We all know that. We all know that you have this perspective. We all know that you have this perspective. Instead of butting heads together all day saying, well, no, I don't know. I don't agree with that. Well, no, I don't agree with you. It's like two-year-olds trying to fight over some kind of toy.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And when are we going to get to the point where we actually have people with the know-how and the willingness to actually work together? Because it's never going to be to where it's totally one party in Washington, D.C. It's always going to have to be bipartisan agreement on things. So when are we going to get to the point where we can actually do common sense things that make sense? And as far as Benghazi and Hillary Clinton, why there was no recourse done at all. No one lost their job.
Right.
That some people resigned.
Yeah.
But that was on their own
and they were nobody
decision.
And
they had exactly. When is it going to be that Washington actually has to be accountable for their actions? I mean, our Congress doesn't even have a budget passed.
Right.
And yet they want to make the claim that we have to raise the debt ceiling. Hey, maybe we wouldn't have to raise the debt ceiling if we actually had a budget and stuck to it.
Yeah.
Like, my goodness, people. When are we actually going to... And really, the way it's supposed to work is that us as voters hold people accountable to their actions. But that doesn't happen. No one holds anybody accountable anymore.
And that's been a failure, I think, on our part. On the American people's part. We've let it get to that point.
There's so many people that are clueless.
And there's no going back at this point either. Like, all these people are clueless, they're just going to all of a sudden just flip a switch and start caring. That's not going to happen.
No. It's you have three types of people. You have the people that are engaged and they watch, C-SPAN all day. Or they listen to talk radio.
Right.
Or they watch national news instead of their local news station. And then you have people who are so fed up with the bickerment that they just don't care. That they don't. What they watch is their local news station. Actually, most of these people don't even watch their local news because it's just too depressing. And then you have other people who they will stick to their party
no matter what,
because that's what their father's dog was, and they'll be clueless about any kind of policy, whether it actually aligns with their belief system, whether it aligns with their values. They'll vote for people, or they'll vote for people based on skin color.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. How racist is that?
Exactly.
I mean, really.
How shallow is that?
That's really shallow. I mean, if I was an African American guy, or even say mixed, because that's what Barack Obama is. He's mixed. And I voted for him on the sole fact that he was mixed as well.
Yeah.
What would I be called? If I voted for Mitt Romney, which I did, okay, and I did it for the sole reason that I'm white, and that's what people knew. Right. What would I be called?
You'd be all racist.
Exactly. So how about we move beyond everybody's emotions and how we feel about somebody? Oh, they're really likable. I really like him. And actually look at, is he making sense? Are his policies things that are going to better our economy, better people's individual lives?
Yeah, and along with that, how it was our responsibility to elect an African American as the president. Like, what's next? It's our responsibility to elect a woman, no matter what our qualifications are, or where she stands. It's our responsibility to elect a gay man to be president.
Just because he's gay.
An Asian, Indian.
Yeah.
I like to look at their qualifications and where they stand instead of any.
How about we just say whoever's the best man or woman for the job gets the job?
Exactly.
That's how it works in the real world. That's not necessarily how it works when it comes to elected officials, unfortunately.
Because it's not the real world. It's their bubble.
Yeah, people live in their little cocoon, and they'd like for it to sprout as a butterfly someday, but unfortunately it doesn't.
And just along with this, there's a person lately who's been in the news that actually is making sense and saying, let's move past this partisan, this crap that we're dealing with. And it's Bobby Jindal. His speech tonight, he said this about the Republican Party: we must stop being the stupid party. We must stop looking backwards. We must stop insulting the intelligence of voters. Those are strong statements right there about. Bobby Jindal is a very strong Republican, very conservative Republican governor of Louisiana. And, that's just interesting to me that, it's finally someone standing up and saying enough of this.
Yeah. He also said, we do not need to change what we believe as conservatives. Our principles are timeless. But we do need to reorient our focus to the place where conservatism thrives in the real world beyond the Washington Beltway. Because in all reality, the Republican Party has been so caught up in every single Washington situation that when it comes to election time, Mitt Romney had no idea how to actually articulate what conservatism is to the common American, to the common person who you can call them low information voter, people who just, like I said, one of the three types of people that either they don't care or they'll vote just because that's their party. He did not articulate that to these people, and we've been talking about this for the last few weeks. That the Republican Party needs to make extreme changes. That they need to actually have an identity, because if they don't know who they are, they'll fail every single time.
Right.
And so Bobby Jindal comes out and says exactly what we've been talking about. And more power to him.
And the thing is, Mitt Romney, John McCain, they couldn't articulate what conservatism was. And George
Part
Bush.
of the reason is because they're so moderate.
Right. And George Bush, he's not what a conservative is, so there was nothing to articulate for him. But, the But what compounds that problem is the Democrats did such a good job of saying what they define conservatism at and making people believe it. Like, anti-science, anti-gay, anti-union, all this stuff that they throw out there that the Republican Party is threatening those different groups of people.
Yeah. They want to kill the earth, dirty water. They have no care for the elderly because they want to slash Social Security and things like that. And so, like you said, that's a great point, because the Democratic Party are the ones who are defining conservatism for the everyday American.
Right.
Let's take that back. That cannot happen.
Right.
That cannot happen. And the way that happens, the way we take that back, is to engage in conversations, everyday conversations with people that we are around in our community. And that's how you make implemental and real life changes. It's not going to be coming from CNN or MSNBC or even Fox News for that matter. Because everybody knows that if you're a liberal and you watch Fox News, or if you hear something from Fox News, you're not going to take it serious. You're not going to listen to it.
Right.
It's going to come from people like you and me, and people like our listeners, who are going to engage in conversations with people and not be afraid to actually talk about politics.
Right.
Because, it's just uncomfortable. How about we just have some real conversations? Because if you care about our freedom in this country, then you're going to want to care about what people believe to be right. And the way our country's going, more and more of our freedoms are going to be suffering. And while me being a Christian, I don't put my hope in America and freedom in this world, but man, I don't want my child on the way to have to live in a socialist state.
Right.
Exactly. And so something needs to be done. And you mentioned, we were talking, there's a report that's going to be coming out about the GOP and the minorities and stuff. Yeah,
March, GOP has finished up a report on reaching minorities, and that will be published in March. So there's not much concrete information on that right now, but it's a minority outreach report. Haley Barbour said, we have real challenges, and we did get whipped in the 2012 election. That's not something we take lightly. So, whatever comes out of this outreach report, the Asian and Hispanic voters mainly, I hope, the Republican Party takes that seriously and says, well, we have a problem reaching these people for whatever reason, communication issues or whatever. What can we do to rectify that situation instead of just ignoring the problem? Because that's where the emerging voters are going to come from, those areas.
Yeah.
There's not going to be more white male voters coming.
Yeah, and even beyond that, for us, our context, college students in regular state-funded schools, the ratio of Democrats versus Republicans, liberals versus conservatives is astronomical.
Yeah.
And for people who are studying certain, especially political science majors, the amount of people who are coming out of that with a liberal worldview, a Marxist worldview, is astronomical. And that's part of the big problem that the Republican Party is facing, is because they don't have control of things like that. And so it's going to have to come from them making extreme changes, because obviously what's going on right now isn't working.
Right.
And
obviously.
And,
and we just, the Republican Party just ignored that for so long. I don't know. It's just something the Republican Party really has a problem with, is identifying their weaknesses and then maximizing their strengths. That's something the Democrat Party lately has been really good at, and the Republican Party has just completely lost ground in that aspect. And it's gonna what's inevitably going to happen if that doesn't change is we're going to become just like every other civilized country in the world, where we got a center party and then a left party. I mean, the conservative party is dying, and it's going to go away.
And in many cases, the Republican Party, the moderates, the center, are pushing the conservatives out.
Right.
I mean, no longtime Republican likes the Tea Party, because that makes them actually have to compete with real conservative people. And it's a lot easier to be a moderate in the Republican Party than it is to be conservative, because if you're a moderate, then it's a little bit easier to get along with those Democrats. Right. It's a little bit easier to get along with those the media, because they're not going to be right on you all the time. And so I've been saying this for a long time. The farther left the Democrat Party goes, the Republican Party is right after them.
Right.
So at some point,
we're just
50 years from now,
we're just keep going left.
Yeah,
we're not going right.
50 years from now, the Democratic Party of today is going to be the Republican Party of 50 years from now, if nothing changes.
Exactly.
And that's going to be hard. I mean, it's really going to be hard to go the other way, because it's not going to be popular. People are going to be facing a lot of just hard times with trying to be different. But you know what? Nothing in life that is actually worth doing is ever easy.
Right.
So we need people that are going to step up and go against the grain. Because if everybody's just going to keep going with where it's going, then there is not going to be a Republican Party. Like you said, it's going to be a left and a center, and that's it. And it's pretty close to that, anyways.
Right. Yeah. In all reality, the one positive I see is the emerging leaders in the Republican Party tend to be people who grew out of the Tea Party movement. Some people like Marco Rubio, Bobby Jindal, like we mentioned earlier. Kelly Ayotte from New Hampshire, Nikki Haley, Ted Cruz. Those kind of people seem to be more. Unlike Chris Christie. I'm not a big Chris Christie fan.
Yeah. Well, I'm just concerned about people that are our age and having those views,
right?
And actually furthering the conservative movement in the future. So, part of this, the liberal movement, is using any kind of tragedy to further their agenda. Even if what they're proposing will not keep whatever tragedy happens from actually happening. It's just a way to play off people's emotions and implement something quickly. That way, if anybody opposes it, they can just call them insensitive. So Feinstein expanded their assault weapons ban.
Right.
She introduced a new proposal, and let's see. This is a article from Fox News. It marks the first major legislative step since President Obama, in the wake of the shooting, called for new gun control measures, including a new, stronger and weapons ban.
Yeah.
She says that our weak gun laws allow these mass killings to be carried out again and again and again in our country, Feinstein said.
Man.
Weapons designed originally for the military to kill large numbers of people in close combat are replicated for civilian use. She said that the bill her and her colleagues are introducing would bar the sale, transfer, manufacture, and importation of assault weapons. And it would also ban magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. So, I mean, this is even... She's not talking about strictly, like, machine guns.
Oh, no.
Fully automatic. She's talking about AR-15s that are semi-automatic.
Legitimate.
Some handguns. I mean, these there's all kinds of things in here that she has no clue what an assault weapon is.
Right.
So it's just
Assault-
kind of like this catch-all phrase for whatever
assault
they want
weapon.
to
It's not even an
call
actual
it.
term.
No, it's not. It's not an actual weapon.
All right. Okay. Assault weapon. Cool.
Because it's
you know-
painted black.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanna
What if
take-
it's camouflage?
I
Is
want
it a
to
hunting
take
weapon?
an aside here and say, like, our liberal administration sold F-16s to Egypt. That's more.
And tanks that we are
Dangerous
no
to
longer
me than my
manufacturing
neighbor
for
owning an
ourselves.
AR-15.
Yeah. Not to mention, this is the same administration that put in place Fast and Furious,
Exactly.
giving drug cartels
Oh, but Eric Holder didn't know about that
assault
either.
weapons to kill people with. So let's be honest here. What is an assault weapon? Joe, what is an assault weapon? Please take the liberal side of view, or do you want me to? I can do that.
An assault weapon. That would be, I guess, anything that has a magazine over 10 and shoots without reloading, like more than once without reloading. That's their view of an assault weapon, I think.
Well, I don't know about that because she's talking about semi-automatic weapons. That's one pull,
Right.
one bullet. So clearly, first of all, before we ban assault weapons, we need to know what an assault weapon is.
Exactly.
And I think before they start putting in place legislation to ban certain weapons, they need to actually know what they're talking
Right.
about. So
Yeah,
how
yeah,
about we
makes
bring in
sense.
some real people to talk about this? I mean, this is coming from the same woman who years ago carried a weapon herself.
Exactly. Probably still does.
And probably still does. So, I mean, these are the same
And
people.
if this passes, she'll have an armed person carrying an AR-15.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
perfect.
That has
Yeah.
more than 10 rounds.
Right. Exactly.
I mean-
but she's special and she's privileged.
And I love the standpoint that so many people out there are taking on this. They want to tell me that here's what I'm going to say, Joe. Why would you need an assault weapon to protect your household? Why can't you just use a revolver?
Oh yeah, man.
Like, isn't 6 shots enough for you? Come on, Joe. What do you need a machine gun for?
I don't know.
Joe, do you?
I don't know.
What do you need that for? I'm going to tell you what you need. You don't even need a gun. You know what you need? 911. That's what you need. You need a good closet. Maybe you can invest in a panic room. You like that movie?
Yeah.
Panic Room? That's a
Yeah.
really good movie. You should invest in one of those, curl up in a ball in the fetal position, and call the police. And after 30 minutes, they'll arrive, and everything will be fine.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you? It makes sense to me. I mean, because honestly, criminals who, by their very nature, do not obey laws, if we give them a ban on their weapons that they have illegally already, clearly they're going to give them to
Obviously.
us.
Just like
Yeah, I mean, we implement this ban
Right.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's nothing,
Exactly.
no
Just like how
weapons
there's
anymore.
no cocaine. There's no heroin.
Exactly. I mean, this is the same viewpoint that will legalize marijuana, just because people do it and it's just a headache to try and enforce laws against it.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, weapons, guns that are protected by the Second Amendment of our Constitution, no, we can't have those. We can't have those, Joe. It's really annoying to hear somebody tell the American people, the common citizen, the law-abiding citizen, what they can and cannot have in terms of personal protection.
Right.
If they choose to use an AR-15 to protect their house, so be it. If they choose to use a 9mm pistol, so be it. I mean, what difference does it make?
Or you can take, Joe Biden's new stance.
Yeah.
Just get a shotgun.
Just get a shotgun.
Yeah.
I mean, because clearly that is not an assault weapon. Clearly that was not made to assault.
Right. Clearly.
I mean, clay pigeons. That's what the shotgun's for. Deer. That's what the shotgun's for. Because if you get shot by a shotgun, that's not going to hurt you. Come on, Joe. It's not an assault weapon. Were not guns made for battle?
Yeah.
Is that why they were? That technology was founded, or was it for hunting? Let's be honest. Let me me give you an example. If I had an AK-47 and I painted it in a camouflage, like an army camouflage or a hunting camouflage, do you think Mrs. Feinstein would know whether or not it's an assault weapon or not?
No.
I mean, if I had it painted black,
Right.
that's a dead giveaway.
Yeah.
So, or my AR-15.
Exactly.
Maybe if I put camouflage, if we all put camouflage on it, they'd have no clue on it. But clearly in this picture, all these guns in the background are all painted black.
Clearly.
None of them are camouflage because that would give off the wrong kind of idea on what these things are. So let's think about this, Joe. Let's get to actually what this means. Even if this was implemented, that there are bans on whatever they want to call an assault weapon, whatever that means to them. Would that have, if this was already in place before Newtown happened, would that have kept that from happening?
No.
What? Are you serious, Joe? Why? Why would it not happen?
Why
would it not keep it from happening?
It's, well, I mean, on their point of view, the guy, Adam Lanza, probably, would have never had access to those guns.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow, they would have just, the gun fairy would have come and taken them away in the middle of the night.
Right. Yes. That's what we need. That's what we need is a gun fairy. So clearly, this is not going to solve our problems because all it's going to do is take weapons away from law-abiding citizens who are protected by the Second Amendment,
right,
our Constitution. They're going to take those guns away from them. And then individuals who do not care about the law, who are breaking it anyways,
they're
going to get the guns.
Yeah, they're going to have AR-15s coming at me.
And so instead of me being at home with, my AR-15 ready to go if anybody comes in, I'm going to have my BB gun, and they're going to come in with the AR-15.
Exactly.
And who's going to win that battle? I mean, unless I shoot him in the eye, I probably won't survive that.
Probably not.
Right? So, but if I paint my BB gun black,
it'll probably be an assault weapon.
Exactly. Magically, it will become a fully automatic machine gun, and I will it would be great because
and
black.
There was not a single murder in Chicago last year.
Because, they have
the
one city
a
that
weapon ban.
Yeah, I mean they have
crazy.
the best gun laws, and man, they are doing a great job of keeping those murders down. I mean, it brings up a really good point. Can we not just actually have a common sense? Which, mind you, I use that phrase very lightly because I don't think there's really much common sense left in the world today because everybody just sees things through these lens that they have. But if we're really going to actually approach this with a motivation to actually do something that works, that has been documented, that has statistically works, would we be even pursuing a weapons ban?
No.
What would we be pursuing? No gun-free zones, right?
Right.
We'd be pursuing at least armed guards, in places like schools.
Yeah.
And we'd be encouraging people to have protection. I mean, they don't have to. I mean, they don't have to. Freedom of America.
Right.
But it's clear that if you look at statistics, gun-free zones have more shootings happen in them because the people that are going to shoot them know that there's not anyone else but them that has guns on this property. They won't go into a place that has armed guards because they know that they'll get shot or shot at. There was a picture on Facebook. I loved it. It was pretty funny. It says, "The front door is not locked for my protection. It's locked for yours." I thought that was pretty funny.
It's good. But back to Chicago, the police chief superintendent came out today and said, the weather's been warm, so that's why I've had more murders this year.
Wow.
I think that's avoiding your problem there. I mean, obviously,
only we could all explain our lack of effectiveness in our jobs with the weather.
Right.
Wow.
Or what really is getting the root at is, all these Republicans, global warming. They're causing Chicago's murders because it's still warm there.
That's a great point. It's all these crazy right-wing nut jobs who drive these big F-350s and just
have cow farms and stuff.
Yeah, have cows pooping and stuff,
exactly.
and
all that nitrogen.
Yeah, that's clearly the problem, because that's exactly who's causing these murders, Joe. Why didn't I think of that? That's brilliant. You should be on like the Democratic National Committee or something.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a really good point, because you'd have so many people believing you. That's really good.
Oh man.
Somehow we'll get the blame for everything, one way or another, because of very great thinking by young people like you. That's a great point. In other news, we have women being able to be in the front lines in battle now. You brought up a good point when we were discussing this before the show.
Right.
Does that mean that they're going to have to register for the
selective service?
Yeah, that.
Right.
I had to do that when I was 18.
Yeah, me too. Couldn't get college loans without doing that.
Yeah. So what's that going to mean if we have a draft? Because let's be honest. How many women, in terms of if we just did a percentage, are actually wanting to be on the front lines?
Exactly. How many diehard feminists want to be on the front lines?
Exactly. Because
probably not very many.
This is their push for equality, which if they really want to be the first people to get shot at, that's their choice. But I have some questions on that. What is that doing for the rest of the women who, if they do this, if we ever have the draft reinstated, like what you're talking about, how many of you people who are parents out there, how many of your daughters are going to get drafted and have to go into battle, and not only in battle, but in the front lines?
Exactly.
And if that doesn't happen, how many lawsuits are going to come out from men who are getting drafted and have to go to the front lines and decide, that's not really that, hey, we're all about equality, so why are they not getting drafted when they're perfectly fine, apparently, to be on the front lines? So that's, I don't know if this guy's really thinking about all that. He's on his way out anyway, so it's, I guess, a great time to just, uplift something that's been in effect for a while. Perfect timing. Whoops.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a problem with it. The only thing is, I guess the whole picture of this whole feminist movement that's working, there are, it's taboo to talk about, gender rules and traditional family anymore. Everyone's the same. We all have the same biological makeup, and there's
no difference, dude.
What are
you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. There's no. I don't even understand why there's a term male and female.
Well, there is no male and female. Didn't you know that? The very idea that, Joe, you are different from your fiance is blasphemy.
Exactly.
Let's be real here. You and her, there's no difference. In any way. Body makeup. Nothing.
Right.
Me and my wife, totally the same. She was made exactly the same. And I'm the same page as you. I don't really. It doesn't make any difference to me, really.
Right.
It's okay if some women want to be on the front lines. Whatever, that's fine.
If the people, I've never been overseas, obviously in the military, so the people over there think that women can handle it, and they think that'll help the force. And I don't see a problem with it at all.
One thing I wonder about though is, how many already cases have there been of sexual assault in the military.
Yeah.
And, that's not the women's fault. It's just dudes being stupid.
Yeah, so they're going to be in the same bunker out in Afghanistan or what?
I mean, they're...
What, like two or three women and 20 guys?
Or even think about this, dude. What happens when God forbid, one of these women who's on the front line gets taken as a hostage,
right, yeah.
or as a prisoner?
The Taliban would make a show out of that. I mean, they would. Yeah, I mean
that would not be good.
Point.
That would not be good. But I mean, that's not my choice. That's any individual's choice. So in a way, I don't at all have a problem with what they're doing, but it does make it interesting when we talk about the social or the selective service, and if there was a draft ever happened again. And so those are things that have not at least been addressed publicly. So that's a conversation that they need to have if they're really gonna push this.
Exactly.
So we'll see. I mean, we'll keep everybody up to date on that, because it's not something that like we both agree that it's totally fine. But
I read kind of related to this in the Washington Post this week. There's an article about how stay-at-home dads are putting masculinity in the stay-at-home parenting, and I was like, man, how did a liberal magazine or a liberal newspaper get away with publishing that article?
Yeah, that's a bad word. The M word.
Yeah.
Masculine.
I thought there was no difference between masculinity and feminine.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
I don't know
what website was that?
That was Washington Post, dude.
Wow.
I think. Hold on, let me check that real quick.
Well, when they do it, when they say it, it's okay.
Might have been the
Fox News ever did that.
Oh yeah.
That'd be a different story.
Oh, it's the Wall Street Journal. Still pretty liberal though.
Oh yeah.
At-home dads make parenting more of a guy thing.
More of a guy thing. Whatever. Whatever works for him, man. I mean, I'm not going to ever be a person who says, I don't know. The whole feminist movement is a very interesting topic to talk about, because we could spend a long time talking about it, because I truly believe the radical feminist movement will not stop until not equality. That's not what they're seeking. It's more of power over males.
They got to get back for all the years they were oppressed.
Yeah, and it's as if 20, 30-year-old women today actually have an effect, or were affected by the 1950s setup of when women were just fine with doing what they did at home and taking care of the kids and things like that, as if they really were feeling hurt about it. Now I understand equal rights about voting and things like that. It's great. I'm all for equality, but the feminist movement, in most cases, will not stop until they have power over males, to where it's not actually what they're seeking, equality. They're seeking the very opposite of that. So as that evolves, we'll obviously see things develop out of that. In other news, I saw there was an interview, or actually, I think Phil Mickelson. If you watch golf, him and Tiger are always kind of the front runners, or Tiger's getting back to his game. But Phil, the lefty, he lives in California, okay, and California recently voted to have their state income tax raised from 2% to 13%.
Yeah.
And
for those high earners.
For the higher income earners. So when you do all the math, these people who are making more than however much the call-off was for the federal government. It's $400,000.
Right.
I'm not sure exactly what it was for the state of California.
I think it was like 250.
Okay. All right. So all those people, their state taxes went up to 13%. So that's 11% increase. So what that means is when you add up all the taxes that Phil Mickelson is paying,
Yeah.
he gets to keep 37 cents of every dollar he makes.
Wow.
37 cents. So he's getting robbed, basically.
Exactly.
63 cents of every
Yeah.
dollar. So let's just do some calculation here. If he was making $1,000 a week than that, he would get to keep $370 that week.
Yeah.
Now, for people that have this view that that's okay, imagine yourself and your job having the expenses that you have based on what you make and taking a 11% pay cut. That's going to hurt people.
Yeah.
Even with Phil Mickelson, who makes millions of dollars, that's still going to hurt him.
Yeah.
And especially with a guy who has the freedom and the ability to move wherever he wants. California's not going to keep people like that.
No,
and so their revenue problem is going to just get worse because those people who are producing and making lots of money, they're going to leave. And Phil Mickelson talked about how he's planning on leaving.
And then he had to apologize for it.
And then he had to apologize for it because he's going to get demonized because he's insensitive.
Yeah, he's paying his fair share. Come on. He makes like $40 million a
Exactly.
year. So,
obviously, his fair share is 63%.
Yeah.
And my fair share is, well, I get paid by the government at the end of the year. I mean, that's fair. If we want to talk about fair share, I love that word, that phrase, fair share. Joe, if you and I both made $100 a week, would our fair share, would it make sense to have it be the same percentage?
Well, yeah.
If you made $1,000 and I made $100, would it make sense that if I was going to pay my fair share and you were going to pay your fair share, we would pay the same fairness of percentage?
Yeah, you'd think.
But no, that's not how our government works. Because apparently a fair share, let's be honest, it's not fair at all. Life isn't fair. We understand that. But if we're going to wrap it up as a fair thing that for some reason just because Phil Mickelson is very talented at golf and he makes lots of money because people like you and I or everyone who likes golf, which, I like to play golf. I don't really like to watch it. But if we continue to watch it, he's going to get paid because he's an entertainer. And it's not his fault he gets paid.
No.
If you were good at shooting guns and you got to get paid to do shows with how quick of a gunman you are, would you pass it up because you just don't want to make money?
Well, it's not fair.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
Because life isn't fair, right?
Yeah.
And so apparently he's planning on leaving, but who knows, he might get conned into staying. But Tiger Woods was also he was asked about Phil's comments, and Tiger Woods, who left California and lives in Florida, by the way, no state income tax, he left in the 90s. And he basically said that was the same reason why he left. He didn't want to actually come out and say ecstatically about that. He tried to play it off because we know that if he would have come out and said, well, yeah, it's ridiculous, then he would have got demonized by that. But he also said, it's clear that people who make a lot of money and live in a place where they're going to get taxed like crazy, why would they not leave?
Exactly.
California is losing people by the herd, and they're going to places like Texas and Florida where there's lower taxes. And guess what? Texas, low taxes, but guess what? Their state, they have a surplus.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Exactly.
And that leads us right into what conservatism is. And this is what has been such a problem, like we've talked about with the Republican Party and all the candidates that we've had. Newt Gingrich, Mitt Romney, John McCain. They don't know how to explain what conservatism is. Or they don't do a good job of explaining it to the people who don't have any clue what it is.
Exactly.
Would it not have been easier for Mitt Romney to say, look, I want to lower your taxes so you get to take home more money, okay? And I also want to create jobs, okay? So I want to not only get your money, but I also want to give you more jobs, okay? So all you people who actually is like 15% unemployment, if we actually counted all the people who just stopped and given up, I want to get you in a job again, okay? And so by me giving the American people more jobs, that's going to be more taxpayers, okay? Because they're actually making an income. They're not taking away our money. They're actually making money. We lower taxes. By lowering taxes and giving companies the ability to hire people, that creates more jobs.
Right.
And if we have more people paying taxes, the government actually makes more revenue.
Yeah.
And we lower our expenses because we have less and less people getting paid unemployment.
Right.
So, taking a conservative approach, lowering taxes, allowing businesses to hire people, and allowing people to actually work for a living and not suck off the government actually works. It doesn't mean that it's a lower revenue for the government. It actually gives them a better shot to actually pay their bills with their great budget.
Right.
So, Joe, what do you think the strategy should be for the Republican Party
Yeah. I
in
would
2016?
say, communicate the whole. We want to build the government on becoming less.
Right.
The federal government becoming less. In the sense that tax rates go down, and spending goes way down. I mean, cut out so much of the junk that just and that will be tough because people lose jobs and people lose services and stuff. But it's a transition that I think we have to make, and I think we have to communicate that we want to make instead of just being like this conservative or this Democrat light party that said, well, we're just going to keep the status quo. We're not going to cut any spending, any meaningful
Don't rock
spending.
the boat, man. Don't rock the boat.
Right. And I think, communicate, I think we still need to communicate strong traditional values in the sense, I don't know, more like promoting the family, promoting a system where, instead of doing a crusade against gay marriage and abortion and those things,
right,
more along the lines of promoting a system where the states decide on marriage regulations, and when it comes to abortion, I think abortion needs to be illegal personally, but I don't know if we're ever going to win that fight. So I think true conservatism would be leaving those issues up to the states, and on the federal level, just making it as small as possible, the farthest out of your lives as possible. And I think if we communicated that, if the Republican Party communicated that in 2016, they'd have a better chance than they had the past two elections.
Yeah. The key is to explain to common voters what it means to them for embracing a conservative viewpoint.
And especially minorities.
Yeah.
I mean, true conservatism is going to help minorities build up their lives and make something of their life, instead of just living off the government, or just relying on the government for everything. I mean,
it creates opportunities
for
people who we always hear about these stories where people come from nothing. They come to America in search for a greater life. They open up a business.
Right.
And they grow the business, and it's in their family for the next 50 years. That can't happen if tax rates continue to go up. Businesses can't get started. Businesses are going down. People are being laid off because with Obamacare, they can't afford it. So if we take that away and allow businesses to prosper in a sense of they're able to actually afford to hire people and to expand, the economy will be strengthened.
Exactly.
The government will be strengthened because we'll actually be living in our means.
Right.
Just same thing every common person with their personal finances has to do. It's exactly what we need to communicate.
All right. So hopefully you enjoyed our conversation today. We'll be back next Thursday. Check us out on Facebook, like we said earlier, JB Radio, Facebook /pages/JB /radio, or something like that. Just look for JB Radio.
Radio.
You probably all came here from Facebook anyways. Join the conversation with us on there. We definitely appreciate that. Share with your friends. And just drop us ideas on what can make us improve on your listening experience. For Brandon Kelly, I'm Joe Hoagland. Thanks for listening.
Greetings.